Well, thank you for tuning in. This is Matt Santos, and you are listening to The Crowd for one. Hear that? That is The Crowd here at the Prescott Valley Event Center in Prescott Valley, Arizona, home of, among other things, the Northern Arizona Suns. Now, we broadcast here from the floor. Oh, slam dunk. It is 67-66, the Suns over the Skyforce. Anyway, we were here a few weeks back talking with Catfish Atelli down on the floor doing a podcast and talking about the event center and all the good stuff happening here. Well, I then went on the road after that. Well, we had Danny Romero and Les Lyman a couple of weeks ago. Then I went on the road. And I had a combination vacation and what kind of a working vacation where I was unable to record a podcast. So what I did is when I got back, rebroadcast one of our old ones listed as episode 167, I think I called it, 166 and a half. That was with Wayne Fetterman, comedian, writer, musician, and all-around good guy. It was a rebroadcast from a couple of years ago when Wayne came in through Prescott to do a show for at the Elks Theater in Prescott, and I got a chance to talk with him via the phone a week or two beforehand to promote that show. And when I was on the road, when I was on my little vacation, I was listening to a bunch of backlog podcasts, including a couple from Jimmy Pardo, Never Not Funny, the Never Not Funny podcast, and one of them was Jimmy Pardo's Podcastathon, which is a fundraiser for Smile Train. It's like a 12-hour marathon where he has different guests come in, and it's just a lot of fun. Well, Wayne Fetterman was the musician, the house band, leader of the house band, and also a guest on the show, riffing back and forth with all the guests, including Jimmy Pardo. And that got me to thinking, since I wasn't able to record a podcast when we were on the road due to a couple different circumstances, I enjoyed listening to Wayne on the Podcastathon, so that's why I decided to post that one up. I did a separate intro, I believe, with my niece and my son from Tracy, California. Anyway, but that was a good episode to rebroadcast. I enjoyed recording it. I enjoyed listening to it again, and I'm always excited to listen to Wayne Fetterman. His Chronicles of Fetterman is available at WayneFetterman.com and Amazon and everywhere else you get comedic and audio content. He gave me a set of that. It's a compilation disc chronicling his entire professional history from back in the 80s up to current, and he is also an executive producer or a co-producer, on a new HBO documentary, two-part documentary with Judd Apatow, highlighting the life and career of Gary Shandling, who was a very, very close friend of Fetterman. And coincidentally, when I recorded, and it's mentioned in the podcast from last week and from 2 years ago, when I recorded with Wayne via phone, it was the day after the Gary Shandling Memorial, which was attended by everyone in the comedic world in Hollywood, and Wayne helped put that on. He was a very close and dear friend of Gary Shandling, and it was just neat being able to talk to him so close to that memorial service, that remembrance of his good friend and somebody I was a big fan of. The Larry Sanders Show, the Gary Shandling Show, countless films and late night TV appearances, and just a comedic genius. Shandling was a great talent that we lost a couple of years ago back in 2016. So anyway, wanted to recap a little bit. Needed to get an episode out. Not needed to, but I want to. That's part of my process with the Mile High Show, is to be able to put out an episode or at least some content every week. Some of you enjoy it, some of you don't. It's a good exercise for me, especially some of these solo podcasts are almost therapy for me. So I enjoy doing these. And if nobody listens to them, you know what? Oh, well. I enjoy doing them. And I think that for me and for my mental well-being, that's what's good to do, is to do something that you enjoy, something that's fun to do, and a little artistic exercise of the brain. So that's why I'm doing this. I had set up to do an episode with a local musician who performs around the road. I'm not going to say who. He had to bow out today. So I spent the afternoon down at the Palace on Whiskey Row, and actually got the call on the way to the Palace that he wasn't going to be able to make it. Some things came up at home, so we will reschedule that at a later date. And anyway, look forward to that. I always enjoy talking to our local musicians. But anyway, so I kept going. I just kept driving from Chino into Prescott, and landed at the Palace anyway. And that is the Friday home of former guest of the show and friend of mine, Danny Romero. So he was setting up to play, and I just hung out for a while. It was a fun afternoon, sitting at the tables at the historic Palace Saloon. Some local folks joined me there. They were strolling on in to hear the music, and they were actually on their way to meet someone who I will be sitting with shortly, Brad Courtney, who is a local author and historian. Brad conducts these Whiskey Row tours where he does a walking tour of Whiskey Row, downtown Prescott, and gives you all the history and all the great cowboy and historic stories that have happened up and down the row. And he has a couple of books out, and unfortunately I don't have the name. Let's see if I can pull it up. But let's see, Brad Courtney. You can find out information on Brad Courtney at Whiskey Row Books, whiskeyRowBooks.com, and Whiskey Row Books on Facebook. Let me see if I can find the title of his book. View page, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I can't find it. Anyway, it's a historical storytelling of Whiskey Row. And I talked with Brad while we were there. We sat around, just joked around and talked and had fun, and set up a time where in the future Brad and I will be sitting down to talk about his book and his history here in the area. And one of the things that was that I was able to pull from that conversation is he was sitting with another gentleman who I had recognized. I've seen him around, and we got to talking. And he is also the author of a book. Now, he had to cut out. We only talked for a little bit, but he is a very interesting guy. His name is Phil Cross, and he is the author of a book that you can get through Amazon. And using the Amazon link at milehighshow.com, where you can support the show, support the artist, and support Phil Cross and his book entitled Gypsy Joker to a Hell's Angel by Phil and Meg Cross, Phil and his wife Meg. It chronicles Phil's history as a biker and a member of a couple of motorcycle clubs, the Gypsy Jokers, who at one time were integral to the motorcycle culture in California. Now I believe they're limited to the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, and Washington area, I think, if I understood him correctly. And, of course, the infamous and world-famous Hell's Angels MC. Phil, well, this is how he was introduced to me by Brad. Hey, Matt, this is Phil. He's an author, and he used to be a Hell's Angel. And Phil interrupted him and says, well, I still am. So this gentleman who is, I don't know how old he is, but he's not a kid anymore, spent his life on two wheels creating stories and living adventures, and he put them down on paper in Gypsy Joker to a Hell's Angel, a book you can get through Amazon at milehighshow.com using that Amazon link. A fascinating gentleman. The little bit of time I got to talk with him, I was able to cull a few good stories that I asked him. I said, well, why don't we sit down soon and then plug in a couple of microphones and have a chat? And he says, tell you what, he goes, why don't we sit down and talk for a while first, and then we'll see about those microphones. So I think he wants to feel me out a little bit before he commits to letting me record what we talk about. But he was just talking in our casual conversation, was talking about his experiences throughout the 60s and 70s, specifically in Northern California, the Oakland, San Jose, and Santa Cruz areas, while he was riding with the Hells Angels and sporting their colors, excuse me, including being stage side working security for the Rolling Stones at Altamont, the infamous Altamont Speedway concert. Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about. He was there. He was right there, stage side, and had some interesting tales to tell, which I won't relay to you. I will wait until we plug in the mics with Phil Cross, and he can tell you himself. And check out his book, Gypsy Joker to a Hell's Angel. That I was thumbing through it. He's got a copy for me. We're going to get that probably next week. But the copy that was on the table there belongs to Brad Courtney. They were swapping books, and I got a chance to thumb through it. Loaded with photographs, historical photographs of the motorcycle club, of Phil Cross's life, and of the adventures he's led, including some photos of the Stones right there at Altamont Speedway, right outside of Livermore, Pleasanton, Livermore, California, where I just was last week. So look forward to that. We're going to sit down with Phil Cross and Brad Courtney for some podcasts shortly. Just got to firm up the times when we're going to do that. And but we couldn't record there because we hadn't prearranged it, and they were there with some friends, including our local constable, Yavapai County Constable Ron Williams. I know Ron, sort of. We've crossed paths throughout his tenure as our constable, which works with the courts and the various public entities, health department and things, as far as the legal arm of them, serving papers and summonses and things like that. I'm not exactly sure what a constable does, but that's what Ron is. And I've crossed paths with him over the years, through local media and other events and things, but we really hadn't sat down and chatted until tonight. So I may try and tap Ron into a podcast as well. He's an interesting guy, is involved in various organizations in and around Yavapai County and throughout the state. And he's just got some great stories, and he knows a lot of the history as well. So maybe we can sit down with Ron Williams at some point soon as well and find out a couple things. Find out his history and also find out exactly what a constable does. Anyway, so we sat down, listened to Danny and Jordan Brambilla play for a little bit, as they do each and every Friday at the Palace. Sky Conwell stopped in for a few minutes, and we talked with him. So we'll be getting Sky back on the show at some point as well. But it was nice to be able to sit down and just have some good conversation with some folks there at the Palace, and some future guests and some new friends. So it was a lot of fun. One guy who stuck his head in on his way out was Matt Hinshaw, hey, Matt, where's your guys' office now?
What?
Where's your guys' office now?
Whose office? Mine?
Yeah. For the Bergamini Group.
Whiskey Row.
Where, though? Where is it?
We're right above the Prescott Arts Co-op. I don't know what they call it now, but that's what it used to be called. It's the Prescott Arts Co-op.
But where from Jersey Lily? It's like just south, right?
Yeah, it's just south of Jersey Lily. We're between the Ian Russell, right next to the Ian Russell Gallery, basically. But we don't like clients going there. We meet all our clients at the Keller Williams office on the corner of Gurley and Montezuma.
But their office that is evidently restricted from visitor. No, it's a smaller office. It's a really.
We just don't. People are always welcome to stop by, but it's just our clients. We prefer to meet them at the, Keller Williams office on Gurley and Montezuma. BradBergamini.com. Everything is just the Bergamini Group at the Bergamini Group, all that stuff.
All right, on all the social media. Anyway, the office they're in, actually, Matt and I spent an evening there a couple years back. an older former guest of the show who used to run a radio show on Magic 99, I think, out here. What's Chris's name? Chris Hussey, the Wild Hussey Show, who's no longer in the area. He lives up in Vegas now. But Chris Hussey had an office up there in a little recording studio, and he invited me up one night to go up there and talk about podcasting and launching shows and stuff. And I called Matt. I think you were just about to get off work. And I said, hey, meet us up there. And it turned into what was probably going to be a 15-minute meeting, turned into about a 3-hour ordeal. But it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun out there. He wants me to talk to... Now, Frank and Heather, Matt's brother-in-law and sister are here at the game, sitting courtside. And he texted me because he knew I was without a guest tonight. He texted me and said, hey, why don't you have Frank on the podcast? And I'm just not that well versed in hot wings. I don't know how much of a conversation I can have with.
He's all about Portillo's now. He's off the Buffalo Wild Wing kick.
You know, I know you've taken me to Portillo's. I enjoyed it, but if I had to choose between eating out at 4 different locations, both Portillo's and Wild Wings would probably come in 3rd and 4th. Not a big fan. I don't know. They're all right. They're just not where I would pick.
I'm a fan. Oh, I'm not on there?
Now you are.
See, I got to edit, though. I'm editing and podcasting and whatever. But no, I'm not. Their beef sandwiches are good. Frank thinks they're the best thing known to man. But I personally like their chili dogs. I think their chili dogs are incredible. Yeah.
They don't they got those shakes with the whole cake in them or something?
I don't know
Isn't
about
that there? I thought it was there. I don't know. I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't. We've gone there a couple of times. Anyway, you keep editing. Just hold that mic. You can edit with one hand.
Sit here and act like I'm talking on the podcast. Hey, so have you started promoting my podcast?
Yes,
yet?
I have.
Because I think you should.
No, you did. You were the sponsor a couple of weeks ago. You were. Okay.
Because we can turn our listeners from 2 to 3. Because right now, the only people that listen to it, clearly not Matt Santos of the Mile High Show.
I listened to half of the first one, and all you were doing was talking about me, so I turned it off.
My mom listens to him, and then my good buddy down at the Arizona Republic, Patrick Breen, he loves movies, and so he's our second listener, and whoever's listening to this and subscribes could be our third.
Well, Mr. Matt Hinshaw, who I forgot to say who you were, how can people find your podcast, and what is your podcast called?
We are the Real Film Nerds. And
real as in
film reel. That's REEL, not REAL. It's a play on words.
Ba-dum-bum. Okay, realfilmnerds.com.
Yep. And on the Instagrams and Twitters and Podbean and iTunes and Google Play and Player FM and Stitcher and all those, we're everywhere now.
All right, now, so what's the gist of the show?
We sit down and we review movies and we talk about movies, and we try to stick to reviewing, but I usually get off on a tangent, usually about something Star Wars or comic book related.
Anything involving your doll collection, I guess, is fair game.
The doll collection sometimes makes an appearance, but not too often. I'm sorry.
So what are you on 4 or 5 now? Episodes?
No, I just put out episode 6 on Wednesday, and then 7 was already recorded in the pipeline, ready to go. It's going to go up this upcoming Wednesday, and we review Red Sparrow with Jennifer Lawrence.
Now, you're saying we. Who's your co-host?
My co-host initially started out as one of my co-workers at the Burger Mini Group. His name is Seth Marquardt, but after our first 3 episodes, he bailed on me because he's just too busy, and he has a life, and he likes making money and whatever other excuses he came up with.
Well,
I brought in my buddy, who I've known since I was 10 or 11 years old, and he watches probably more movies than I do, and he does them with me.
And he is Mike,
his
right?
His name is Mike, yep.
Out of Florida?
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but he's on the East Coast.
Oh,
we'll go that far.
So he's remote, though. He's not local.
Not
you guys
local
are doing
to Prescott. No, but I have to call him on Skype.
You're doing a Skype interview. Okay, now that's something to be said. Is that you've got a buddy you've known since you were 10 years old.
Yep.
He had to move across the country and he still can't get away from you.
We still talk every week. It's horrible.
He's a good guy. I've met him on a couple of times. First time I met him, he had no shoes on. He's wearing flip-flops.
I remember that.
Anyway, good guy, and give us a taste of what are some of the movies that you, and just to recap, you started it with Seth, your coworker.
I started with Seth, my coworker.
He's involved in he's one of the agents at Bergamini, and that's
right.
Those guys. It's tough to balance as much time as needed for a weekly podcast and try and make a living.
Well, it's a lot like working for what?
Nothing.
It's a lot like working for the news industry.
It's a 24/7 thing, right?
Yeah, they're on call basically 24/7 for their clients. So anything and everything that their clients want, need.
Yeah.
Damn it! What the hell just happened to my computer? They are at the beck and call of all their clients at all times, which can get tough when you're trying to go see a movie and then immediately go and talk about it.
Yeah.
And so Seth doesn't get to see a whole lot of movies anymore, but it's been like this for years, so I don't know why he's just now having an issue with it, but whatever.
But you guys didn't miss a beat. You picked up with your buddy Mike, who is in some undisclosed secret location on the East Coast, and I assume is now wearing shoes. What have you guys done? What movies have you guys done?
Well, Mike and I, we started with...
Well, just from the get-go, from episode 1.
We've done... God, I'm trying to think what our first one was. Our first one was just the beginning, just us talking, and then we did Phantom Thread, and then we did Hostels, and then Black Panther, Game Night. Episode 6 was Annihilation, and that was this past Wednesday, and then Red Sparrow's coming out this next coming one. And then the next 2 we have in the pipeline is going to be Death Wish starring Bruce Willis, and the new Tomb Raider, which, spoiler alert, don't go see it. It was terrible.
Now, I know of 3 of the movies you mentioned, and I've only seen 1. The other ones, I have no idea what they are.
I am personally surprised that you've even seen 1, because they're all movies that are still in the theater except for Phantom Thread. So
Now, Phantom Thread, that was the prequel to Phantom Menace?
Yes.
No. What was
Instead
Phantom
of using
Thread?
lightsabers, they just run out there with a needle and thread
sewing
and they just start
machines.
sewing everyone together.
No, that was Daniel Day-Lewis, right?
Yeah, it was Daniel Day-Lewis's quote-unquote last film again.
What was it about? It's
about a dressmaker in the 50s, I believe. Very stylized, very artistic. It was gorgeous. Very gorgeous movie.
Oh, nice.
Well acted. Me not being a huge fan of the topic of dressmaking, but it's still
not to say you're
really
not a
well
fan
done.
of wearing dresses, because I've seen you.
Everybody wears dresses.
I've seen you in what the classic little black cocktail dress.
Not this week. I'm too busy working.
We just saw one walk by.
I know.
That was the with the silence.
That was
there.
It was someone wearing a little black cocktail dress.
Okay, so what's the gist? You talk about the movies. You, like you said, you go off on some tangents and stuff, which is great. Just let the conversation flow.
I try not to go off on too many tangents, but it's the nature of the beast, especially when you've been friends with someone for so long.
Now you're going to be. You had mentioned that you're going to be soon on a guest of a past guest of this show, the Blue Milk Podcast.
Yeah, this coming Sunday,
which is dedicated to the Star Wars family, the Star Wars universe, the Star Wars genre.
Yep.
Now, but you being a huge fantasy and sci-fi fan, that's not the gist of Real Film Nerds, though, right? It's
no, Real
everything.
Film Nerds. We don't really restrict what films we watch or go to. And it's not even so much films that are in the theaters. Right now, it just happens to be films in the theaters because there's tons. There's a lot of great movies coming out because summer's right around the corner. Things are coming out.
So,
now, for the most part, we stick to those, but we are not. Like, I'm sure we're going to get to doing some really old, crappy movies and stuff on Blu-ray and DVD. We're always asking for people for suggestions. Like, I already had one suggestion from one of the hosts of the Blue Milk podcast. He would really love to hear us review the Green Lantern. which if you've never seen that movie, it's one of the worst movies probably
Was that
made in the past
Ryan
20
Reynolds?
years. Oh, yeah, it's garbage.
Never saw it. Now, so you're not specific to sci-fi. You're not specific to comic books. You're not specific to fantasy.
No, sir. Just
not specific
movies
to
and film in general.
Not specific to current ones.
Nope.
So, kind of figures, if there's some guy that really likes like old detective movies and stuff that has hundreds of them on his shelf, maybe he'd be a good guest.
He would be wonderful to come on,
evidently
but
they don't know my number anymore.
But the problem is when someone's always on vacation and you're trying to talk to him and you text him repeatedly while he's on vacation and he just ignores you, you feel a little burned.
No, I don't. I did not. Most of the time I was gone. I was talking about that just before you came up. Most of the time that I was gone, I didn't even have my phone on.
I know. I figured that out the other day when it was on your Facebook post. You were like, man, it was something about how I turned on my phone and it almost melted because there was so much stuff coming in.
I tell you what, the highlight of the trip, well, there was a couple of highlights. The first night that we left, we left the Chino Valley area and drove through. It's like an 8-hour trip to, we end up in Bakersfield, get a room. And you know me, I have a lot of trouble sleeping. So
yeah, you're the only, not joking, you're literally the only person I know that sleeps less than I do. Which is saying a lot because I get maybe 3 or 4 hours a night.
So I drove most of the time. Anthony and Sandra slept on and off, but not a whole lot. We get to the hotel. Anthony's ready to crash. It's like 8 o'clock at night. Anthony's ready to crash. Sandra has a headache. She's ready to crash. So we had grabbed them some takeout right after we got off the highway. They ate in the car. We go up to the room, unload it, and they're crashed out. Now I haven't eaten yet, so I get in the car, go around the corner, get something to eat.
Subway? Eat fresh?
No, actually I grabbed, it was a little taco shop. I don't even know what it was.
Nice.
And
I always love going to local fare if it's a good spot.
Yeah, no,
I really do.
Wasn't good.
Oh, well, never mind then.
So I get back to the room. I have my food and my drink, and I sit down at the little desk in our room. Very nice room. I forget what it is. I'll put it on the show notes. First thing Sandra does is said, can you turn off the light? Because I woke her up.
Well, aren't you nice?
Well, so I kind of eat fast and then go, and there's like a little patio right outside, and I sit down out in the little patio so that I could finish eating and have the light on, and I'm looking at stuff on my phone, and it's like 9 o'clock at night, so it's not late, and I hear some music. And then I look over across the pool area, the patio area.
Yeah.
There's a bar and restaurant called the Bull Shed. It's actually part of the hotel.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No, it's part of the hotel.
Oh, that's cool.
And evidently, it is the only place in this part of Bakersfield people go at night. So I figured I'm going to stroll on over, sit in the patio. So
it's kind of like the Chino Valley of Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Someone is flashing. Oh, I wonder if they're flashing it at a girl or something.
I don't know.
I can't tell.
Oh, this little girl right here, I think they're looking for.
That's what they're doing. Sorry, folks. We're in the middle of a basketball game.
Hey, it's Scotty. So I mosey on over there. It's like 9:30, almost 10. And it was, I laid down my card. I figured, I'm not going anywhere. I lay down my card and I order a margarita rocks.
Oh, no.
And I had one. And she goes, "Are you sure you want this on a card? It's only $1."
What?
So I said, well, no.
Seriously?
Let me pay you out of my pocket. So I had that one, and I'm not joking. And then I order a soda because I just wanted to go to sleep, go to bed. But I'm just watching. You know how I get. I start watching people. I was just watching people talking to the bartender. So now I'm about 5 sodas in. It's about 12:30, and I start.
Sure it's not 5 margaritas in?
No.
They were $1.
No, it was all sodas, unfortunately.
Well, clearly Sandra must be listening to this one because you're lying.
No, but no, I'm going to show you.
Oh, are you
this.
showing me the receipt? I'm good.
No,
I believe you.
I'm going to show you this card. We might as well give this guy a plug. If you're ever in Bakersfield and need a shave or a haircut, get a hold of the B&R Barber Company, Zachary Blauwa, Blauw. He was sitting at the bar next to me, him and his girlfriend.
Did he give you a shave?
No.
Oh.
But we start talking, And I'm drinking sodas, and he is not drinking sodas. He is drinking enough margaritas for the both of us, and his girlfriend ends up leaving. Didn't know she was driving. So, but he was a neighbor of the bartender. So the three of us start talking, and I tell
I'm guessing you guys closed out the bar.
No, I'm getting ready to go. I said, well, I'm staying here. I'm going to go to my room. And he goes, hey, and my girlfriend left. Can you do me a favor? Can you give me a ride home?
Oh, no.
And the bartender leans over and goes, hey, he's a good guy. He doesn't live too far. Can you just give him a ride? I would really appreciate it.
This is starting to sound like the start of a horror movie. Either that
yes.
or a pornography, one of the two. They usually start the same way.
So we get in my van, my trusty mobile studio van, the Mile High Show mobile studio, which has an odd connection to your co-host.
Yeah.
And
it was my co-host's parents' van.
So we get in the car, we get in the van.
Who coincidentally don't live in the East Coast.
Yeah. So we get in the van and we start driving. He goes, okay, take a left here. Take a right here. We get out of a little complex where the hotel is, and then he goes, "Okay, just pull in the parking lot here." And I go, "You live at a mobile station?" I mean, he has me go to a gas station for. So he
Seriously?
goes in.
That's
he goes
hilarious.
in. He gets some chips and stuff. He gets a soda, and then he comes in the car and he's eating, and we're talking, and I'm like, "Dude, it's a pleasure meeting you and all, but can't where do you live? I got to take you home." Oh, okay, get on the highway.
Yeah, this is not sounding very
flash
close.
forward 45 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
He does not know where his house is.
Oh, nice. So basically you made it halfway back to Arizona by the time you realized it was time to stop.
We were just zigzagging around. So I end up dropping him off at a friend's house, which is fine. I get back to the room. It's now 2:30. I'm still not tired, so I go in the room. I
still don't understand because, like I said, you don't sleep at all.
Well,
like me.
which is fine at home. I'll go in another room and watch TV or work on the laptop or listen to podcasts on my phone or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're at a hotel room, that when I say hotel room,
do that.
I don't stay in suites. I stay in whatever we can afford, and it's usually a bed in the middle of the room with a desk when we're lucky.
Hey, you know what? It beats the van.
No, odd you should say that.
I've stepped in the van.
So-
I've slept in a van,
so,
truck, car, whatever.
I go in the room and I'm not even having any lights on. I just have the phone light on because I'm watching Netflix on my phone.
Uh-oh.
And it wakes up Sandra. Well, then me coming in the door and stuff wakes her up. Can you turn that off? Can you turn that? I've got headphones on too. So I go back and sit on the patio.
Yeah.
But it's not like our patio. It's just the hotel patio. And then the security guy comes over about 10 minutes later and says, hey, you can't sit here. Are you staying here? Yeah, I show him my key. I give him my name. He calls the front desk. Okay, you're staying here, but you can't hang out here. I mean, if you're just out here for a minute.
Can you hang out like in the lobby?
Well, I don't want to sit in the
I've done that
lobby.
before.
Yeah,
I know it sucks.
So what I did is my phone was dying, so I go in the van, start it up, plug in my charger, so I could keep watching what I was watching on my phone. And then I fell asleep.
Uh-oh.
And I woke up at 5:30. and I go back in the room. Needless to say, Mrs. Mile High Show was not happy. So we ended up staying that day and night in Bakersfield again. And then loaded up the car Sunday morning and drove to Yosemite and had a beautiful time in Yosemite.
Oh, dude, I was jealous,
nice.
man. Those pictures look great.
Those were all with my cell phone.
I know. I could tell.
You could see. So we had a good time and then went and stayed with my brother-in-law and his kids. Anthony got to play with the cousins. And then I showed up at a wedding, which is the main reason we were going. And what was supposed to be me shooting a couple of pictures at the ceremony turned into pre-wedding ceremony and the entire reception shooting. But
and you charged them accordingly, right?
No, it was no. You know what? But then I got to thinking because at one point it was my nephew's wedding. Congratulations to Zachary and Marissa Yamamoto. But what I noticed at some point, they said, don't take any pictures. Don't worry about it. My sister, the mother of this groom, said, oh, don't worry about it. Don't just enjoy yourself. And 5 minutes of that, and you know what I had to do was pick up my camera.
Yeah, you had to pick it up because it was driving you nuts.
Well, it's just like, what do I do? I haven't been to a wedding as a guest in 30 years, man.
Have you had the one where you purposely leave your cameras in the car, or you just leave them at home completely and you go to the wedding?
No,
well, you just said you haven't been in Gaston forever.
I've never been in
there because I've had to do this at my sister's wedding, for example.
No, I
just want to walk over there to the photographer and be like, here, just give me that camera. I'll show you how it's done.
I've never been a guest at a wedding.
Yeah, you're always working.
One time, and that was and we just showed up. It was like a 20-minute ceremony, and we were at the reception for like 45 minutes. It was some friends of ours. It was mainly a family thing, so we didn't stay long. But that's the only time, and that was, I want to say, 1997, 98, something like that.
It's okay. I don't have friends either.
Yeah. No, I got lots of friends that say, hey, can you shoot my wedding?
Oh, I know. I know. I get that a lot, too.
But so...
I don't have friends either. Never mind.
And the ones you know aren't getting married.
The one friend I do have is actually getting married. But
the one friend I have. Not a sadder phrase has ever been uttered on the show. That one friend I have.
And he doesn't even try to admit that he's my friend.
So get this. So
I have to pay him to admit it.
So... we weren't sure. On Saturday morning, we get up and while we were driving out there through, like the 9th, we're driving through, Needles, Kingman Needles, and I started hearing some humming in the back of the van, and I couldn't tell what it was. Now
it was Anthony.
No, we had removed those middle seats.
Yeah.
So Sandra and Anthony were sitting in the way back, and she goes, "This is loud." I said, "Well, probably because you're never sitting back here."
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
I said, how long has it been? She goes, well, I noticed it a couple of weeks ago, which she'd never told me about.
Oh, of course not.
So it got progressively worse. So I went on Saturday morning before we left. Then I could hear grinding. So I go, oh, it's our brakes. So I Saturday morning, I wake up fairly early. Wedding was Friday night. I wake up fairly early on Saturday morning. Matt got distracted again. On Saturday morning.
That and the quarter's about done. I need to get down there, but I still got to do. Editing to do.
Yeah,
sorry.
Beep. But that was at 37:30. Got to throw a beep in there. So
that's one thing. My podcast is explicit.
Yeah,
very explicit.
Your living room is explicit. So we.
Well, you got to talk to the dog to keep your sanity. What else am I going to do?
Talking to the dog, don't have a problem with it. It's the other things you do to the dog that I have issue with. Me and the SPCA.
I don't hear him complaining.
So I wake up early. Everybody's still asleep. I get in the car and I drive to a Les Schwab Tire and Brake Center in Tracy, California, and tell the guy, this is what I need. I'm traveling. I'm heading home today. I need back discs put out, brake discs. Just swap them out. Don't, if you want.
Yeah, the pads, right?
Yeah. Just got to swap out the pads. Don't worry about anything else. Well, we do a full service. The calipers, everything. No, I'll do all that.
That's
if
wonderful.
It needs it.
I want the pads.
So he gives me an estimate, $577.
That's ridiculous.
Because they won't
pads?
do it for pads. He's changing calipers, not turning the rotors, brand new rotors.
No, that's ridiculous.
So he gives me the estimate. I say thank you, get in the van, drive away. And Google,
like a normal person would.
Google local brake shops, and I find Brake Masters, which also has an outlet here in Prescott. So I call them, and I say, this is what I need. Just pads, nothing else. He goes, well, we'll turn the rotors. That's like another $15. Okay, that sounds good. He goes, what year? I give him all the information. He goes, yeah, we can do that right now. $150. I said, sold. You're good. So I drop off.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I drop off the van, and I'm thinking maybe I'll wait. If it's going to be an hour or so, he goes, you know what? It's going to be probably this afternoon. So I happen to find the only neighborhood in California that doesn't have a Starbucks on every corner. Not a single coffee shop within walking distance. So my brother-in-law comes, picks me up. Anyway, flash forward. We get our van back. Brakes are great. Thank you, Brake Masters. But while I'm paying, this guy looks at me and he goes, Santos, huh? You used to Used to live in Hayward, right? It's a guy I went to high school with.
Are you serious?
Jimmy Spears.
That is awesome.
Assistant manager of the Brake Masters in Tracy, California. Anyway, so
gosh, dude, that is a small world.
Well, now it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm thinking, okay, do we drive straight home? No, it's late. We're gonna have to spend the night somewhere. So do we spend the night back in Bakersfield? End up at the Bull Shed with dollar margaritas? No, bad idea. Don't think we ought to do that. So I text my buddy Steve Simone. And what do you?
I thought you were trying to point out the
no. I text my buddy Steve Simone, and he says, "No,
dude.
Come through,
I love Steve, man. He's
come
awesome.
through L.A. and you can hang out at the Comedy Store tonight."
Oh,
so we drive to L.A. We check in about 8:00. We grab some dinner, and at 9:15, I'm in the patio at the Comedy Store.
That is so awesome.
I text Simone. He's not there. He had an 8:00 stage time. Then he was going to Dynasty Typewriter, another club. He goes, I'll be back about 11. So I'm just going to hang out in the patio.
Nice.
Order a drink at the bar in the patio. Bartender looks at me. He goes, hey, you're Simone's friend, aren't you?
Are you?
He goes, remember, I met you here last year. You were here last year. Josh Martin, great comic, just made a paid regular a few months ago. We get to talking. And so we're just chatting. It's kind of neat. He goes, hey, are you here for the shows? I said, no, I'm going to meet Steve about 11. He goes, well, I can get you in if you want. I said, no, I'm just going to hang out in the patio. And I look over and I see Jason Tebow, who is a comic. He is a Comedy Store guy, and he also hosts the 92.7 The Pod podcast. Great podcast. Hilarious. Comes out monthly. It's a monthly podcast.
Dude,
he's also,
I need to start doing that. It would save me money with Podbean. That's for sure.
He's also one of the co-hosts with Punch Drunk Sports with Ari Shaffir and Sam Tripoli, and he's just a funny guy. I got a chance to meet him at the All Things Comedy Festival this past October in Phoenix. So I just walk up, introduce myself, and say, hey, I'm a fan. Thanks. I got a chance to meet you in Phoenix. And he looks at me and goes, oh, that's right. You were the photographer, right? Hey, how you doing? Hey, have a seat. So we end up talking for a while.
I love that you're so identifiable.
Yeah.
I need to work on that.
So he goes, hey, are you going in for the shows? And I explained to him, hey, I was here to meet Simone. He'll be back about 11. He goes, forget it. Come back with me. So we end up going to the back to that comics only bar in the back. And we're hanging out there for about an hour and a half.
Oh, man, this is killing me.
And I had to go to the bathroom. I had to take a leak. But the bathrooms are like way in the front. So I just tell him, I said, hey, I appreciate you letting me hang out back here, but I'm going to go to the bathroom. I guess, if you're not, if I'm by myself, I'm gonna stay out front. And he goes, oh, you just got to take a leak? Here, go right here. And I'm like, where? And he walks me out this back door to a little alley where the manager's car is parked.
Oh no! And you just peed on the manager's car?
He goes,
hilarious.
Just pee in the corner there. And I'm like, no, I can't. No, I can't. He goes, no, seriously, just pee in the corner. I says, no, I'll just go out front. He goes, dude, seriously, just pee in the corner. Everybody does it. So I go over and I'm taking a leak in the corner, and I hear, hey, what are you doing? And I turn around. It's another one of the managers. And I look, and they're standing there together. And I look at Jason, I go, he told me to just be here. He goes, yeah, I didn't think you'd do it. Anyway, end up spending the whole time back there.
Clearly they haven't been in Arizona.
Chris D'Elia was back there. Neil Brennan was back there. I got to sit down with Brett Ernst, Johnny LaClasto, Steve Simone, and we sat there and listened to Court McCowan tell stories about being a teen star back in the 80s, who's now Court's a nationally touring comic. But he was in Teen Wolf. He was in
Teen
tons
Wolf,
of old
classic,
teen
man.
movies back. He was always – who's the guy from for the blonde guy from Karate Kid?
Oh, hell, I don't remember his name, but there's a lot of talk going on with him because he is coming out with that new show on YouTube Red. That looks
Cobra
awesome.
Kai.
Yeah, Cobra Kai.
But, yeah, he played those kind of roles Court did, but he was in, like every 80s movie way back when. And a great comic. Got a chance to meet him at All Things Comedy as well. Anyway, we got to just sit there in that private bar listening to Court tell stories, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Now, having said that, I text I text Steve Simone the next day just to tell him thank you, and I haven't heard back from him. And I got to thinking, what did I
somewhere buried in the
No,
desert.
I was thinking what
I don't know, he's too nice of a guy though.
No, I was thinking what did I say? Did I tick him off? I'm thinking I might need to send him an apology note for something. I don't know. There's Court.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I recognize him.
Anyway, it was a blast. We had a lot of fun, and then the next morning we woke up in L.A., jumped in the car, and came home to about 4,000 emails and way too many voicemails, and I was gone 10 days, and I am officially 3 weeks behind in my work.
Yeah, well, and most of those phone calls and emails are just from me because I missed you so much.
All righty, so what is it now? It's 103-102 Northern Arizona Suns over the Sioux Falls Skyforce. The Suns are up by 1.
And I am slacking. I should be down there shooting.
Well, go shoot, you slacker.
Well, I'm finishing up betting. I shot too much.
All right, so what do you tell it again? Real Film Nerds?
RealFilmNerds.com, at RealFilmNerds. And that's REEL. We have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. iTunes, I don't think we're on Spotify, but iTunes, Twitter, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, all those. All where you can find all major podcasts like the Mile High Show.
Yeah, all major ones, and then the ones we do.
Yours is pretty major compared to mine. I don't think all my episode downloads put together get even one of yours.
Why am I not a guest then, you slacker, man? You're an ingrate.
Problem is getting the timing right with my buddy Mike and everything.
But let me pick a movie. I'm going to send you a couple of...
pick a movie. I'll send it over to him. We'll watch it. We'll talk about it. It'll be fun.
Okay. I got to find... I got to find
Skype,
one
though.
that's like on Amazon or Netflix
No,
or
you don't
something?
have to. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Bootleg, piracy.
Yeah.
Real Film Nerds brought to you by Bootleg Movies on the internet.
BootlegMovies.net. Pirate Bay.
Is that still existence?
Oh, of course.
All righty. Well,
They can't get rid of Pirate Bay.
That's
it lives
my
forever.
That's my solo podcast.
Thanks for having me on
That wasn't
again.
so solo. Check out Real Film Nerds. This is the second to the last game for the Northern Arizona Suns. Tomorrow night, Matt will be here shooting their final game. 109-105. The Northern Arizona Suns are up. Oh, get loud. It's telling you, don't tell me what to do. Get loud. So tomorrow night, Matt will be photographing the final game of the 2017-18 season, and I will be doing, game 4 or 5, 3 or 4 for the Arizona Rattlers for you?
It's home game number 3. I think it's 4th game total.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be down there because they're playing at the same time, so I will be hanging out in Phoenix tomorrow, whenever you hear this, the 25th. But keep in mind, Bird City Comedy Festival begins next Thursday, the 29th, runs for 3 days, 29, 30, and 31. I will be down there for the 29th and the 30th, as always, shooting pictures down in downtown Phoenix. Jackie Cation will be one of the featured performers, the headlining performers, as well as many of the comics that you've heard on this show and heard me talking about and have seen on the pages of MSP and msantosphotographer.com, as well as the Mile High Show. Genevieve Rice is jam-packing that festival with talent. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I will be down there photographing and hopefully recording a podcast or two at Bird City Comedy Festival next week. And you can find out information, including how to get your festival pass at birdcitycomedyfestival.com. And don't forget, next September 22nd, 23rd, 24th, something like that, toward middle to the end of September, is the Big Pine Comedy Festival, which I will be taking part in again. It's a lot of fun out of Flagstaff, Arizona, featuring comics from around the country and this great state of Arizona. A lot of good talent out there and a lot of fun. So check out Bird City Comedy Festival next week, the 29th, 30th, and 31st, and Big Pine Comedy Festival next September. Links are in the bio. And don't forget Real Film Nerds with Matt Hinshaw and the mysterious barefooted Mike from the East Coast. check out their podcast. Maybe I'll be on it one day, but I doubt it.
Of course you're going to be on it sooner than later, hopefully.
Doubt it. He just says, I want to record it at your house so we can make fun of your dolls.